Hi, my name is Mitchell Nolasco, and this is my case study video. I did blowing the whistle in Iraq. Just a little background information on this case. It's about the Abu Ghraib prison scandal. Abu Ghraib was a prison outside of 20 miles outside of Baghdad, and it was used between 2003 and 2006 as a U.S. Army detention center. They would take Iraqi soldiers captives there and use this location for interrogations. And anyways, between 2000 and in 2004, SPC Joe Darby, who was one of the officers working there at the time, came across some photos that showed abuse of the detainees there. I guess according to him, there had been humiliation and torture tactics. There were even accusations of rape and mental abuse. Several of the soldiers working there were involved, and after the case and allegations, he blew the whistle, of course, and it led to the arrest of, I think, 11 soldiers. Pretty much we're going to try to answer a few questions about this case. The questions: what issues skirt the fine line between right and wrong in this case? Should fear of repercussions be allowable excuse for silence? How should all of these people be accounted for to determine their responsibility, considering they were supposedly afraid to speak up? And should whistleblowing be praised in this situation? After Joe Darby blew the whistle, there was mixed responses. Those in the military, his colleagues, there probably was an element that they felt they had been betrayed. He was being unloyal and probably not following directions. I'm sure there was some sort of code of silence or something he was supposed to follow, and they were probably instructed to do some of these things. The public and the news, they praised him for it, but ultimately you have to look at this. We all pretty much know that torture is not a good thing. There are some situations in life where, for instance, say a terrorist knows the location of a bomb. In that situation, I could see it possibly being justified if it were to save thousands of people's life, but that's in a dire situation where you need the information right then and there. We'll attempt to look at this case from several different views, moral and ethical views, and then we'll even go over whistleblowing. Let's start off talking about virtue ethics. From a virtue ethics standpoint on this case, virtue ethics, you look at everything from is this a good quality? Is this a good character? Is this something admirable in determining your situation, your course of action, what you would do? I think we can all agree there's nothing admirable about torture. It's probably not a good quality to be hurting people, doing bad things to people. So as a virtue, if you were looking at it from a virtue ethics standpoint, you probably agree that torture in any situation is probably not a good thing. It probably wouldn't have supported it in this case. So virtue ethics, you would probably agree completely with him blowing the whistle. Something wrong was being done. There was nothing admirable about the situation. The whistle had to have been blown. Now with virtue ethics, it doesn't really focus too much on the outcome. It's more on the means, and like I said, if this is something that would be considered a good quality. Another theory that supports would probably actually go against the torture idea and probably support the whistleblowing would be social contract. To understand social contract, you first have to understand natural law. Under natural law, we are all more or less like animals, and we do whatever we can and have the right to do whatever to achieve our goals, our ends, what we want, with pretty much no regard for anyone else besides ourselves. Under natural law, it would be acceptable and considered right to steal or kill or take whatever by any means, so long as it benefits yourself, and that would be justified under natural law. Social contract came about due to the fact that with this type of mentality, even though you could kill and steal and take something from somebody, immediately after somebody could come and kill and steal and take from you. And so basically, under social contract, we give up some of those rights in order to make sure that things we wouldn't want to have done to us can't be done to someone else. You don't want anybody to torture you, so you wouldn't go out and torture somebody else. And that's pretty much the idea behind the social contract. So social contract probably wouldn't support torture. Really, I can't think that it would in any situation. There's always exceptions, like I said, with the terrorist and the bombing earlier. But social contract would not agree with it and would probably support Joe Darby blowing the whistle. Now, a couple views of ethics and morals that would probably support torture in this situation would be utilitarian thought, consequentialism. These two types of theories usually they just really look at the ends rather than the means. Utilitarian thought, for instance, would support the torture if the outcome were good. What benefits the greater good, the greatest number of people, causes the least amount of pain and the most amount of happiness. That's basically what utilitarian thought focuses on. In this situation, if torturing, there were like 3,800 people there. If torturing them led to, saving 5,000 people, that's more people saved than were tortured. Utilitarian thought would probably support the torture in this case, saying that it caused the greater amount of good, the least amount of pain. Consequentialism, it's pretty close to the same thing, but it focuses solely on the ends, not the means whatsoever. So even though we would all understand in some situations torture could be justified, we can all agree that rape and humiliation, things of this sort, are probably not necessary to get the information you need. And in my opinion, these are just things that the soldiers wanted to do. They weren't necessary at all to get the information they were seeking. Consequentialism would not focus on that or even consider that whatsoever, so long as afterwards we got the information we were looking for. And it really doesn't even focus on the greater number of people or any of that. It's just simply, did you achieve the outcome that you were looking for? If you look at whistleblowing, it's a conflicting situation. Usually in order to even get this information, you're part of a team, a company, etc. And you come across something, that strikes you, it's just wrong. It could be, accounting practices, that they're cooking their books. Or you're working with somebody and say your company for a fact is giving more consideration to men in promotions and whatnot, and not giving women fair chances. Things like this that is just not fair to the public and not right. You would be inclined to probably make this public or do something about this to have it changed. It usually stems from some moral conflict within yourself. You see something wrong being done, and you do feel an obligation to be a part of your team, to be loyal, and there's usually non-disclosure agreements, privacy policies that are involved, and you have to break all these things in order to make the wrongdoing public. There's usually some backlash that results from somebody blowing the whistle. Like I said, their teammates, their colleagues will usually look at them as they weren't loyal, or they did caused harm to them, to try to make the wrongdoing public. They also get praise from the public and the news a lot of the times, but it's a real conflicting thing. You need to know what the outcome of blowing the whistle is, what stands to be gained, what stands to be lost, who all stands to be hurt. It's a real tough position to be put in. All in all, with this case, I have to agree that Joe Darby did exactly what he needed to do. Like I said, in some situations, torture could be justified if it were, say, a dire situation right here, right now. We need to know where this bomb's at, where thousands are going to die, and you're going to torture this one guy who knows where it's at. I could probably see that. But to have thousands of people in there raping them for raping, beating, torturing, just humiliating, taking lewd photos of them, for random information. I really just don't see the justification in this. Personally, I couldn't have stood by and watched it. I would have blown the whistle myself. Now, is the fear of speaking out and the repercussions that would follow a reasonable excuse for this? I don't really think so. Look at it from the standpoint, if it was your mother or your friend or some family member in there that was having that done to them, you wouldn't consider at all what would happen to you. You would speak up, you would do something to stop it immediately. A lot of the soldiers involved were reportedly, thought it was comical and taking pictures and laughing and posing with the soldiers, the detainees, as they were being tortured and humiliated. So this doesn't really seem to me like it was a means to an end so much as that they were just taking some sort of sick pleasure from it. When it comes to deciding how much responsibility ultimately that they should have, yes, it is consideration that they were probably following orders. There were probably some consequences they would suffer if they didn't follow the orders or went public with the information. But at the same time, I just really think that the need to make this wrongdoing public and to stop it from continuing, it just outweighs that. I don't think they should probably get the full weight of the law in their punishments, but I still think they should receive some stiff punishment for this. And should whistleblowing be praised or not? I think in this situation it should. Most situations I think it should. Like I said, if there's nothing wrong being done, you're not going to just go out your way and just start stirring the pot and put it all out there if there isn't really much to achieve or something that has to be known to the public. You basically are put in a position where you have to choose between your loyalty to your company, your colleagues, your team, or your loyalty in the what would be best for the public. I think most situations, I think whistleblowing could probably be praised. I think this pretty much covers the most of it. Like I said, in my opinion, Joe Darby did just right. The government, the military, everybody involved should be punished. I think the higher up the ranks that were knowledgeable to the situation, those giving the orders for these tortures and everything, they definitely, if they weren't fully aware, they should have been, and they should have had more hands-on and known what was going on, and there should have definitely been limitations. You see it in the news every day, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, everything, beheadings, raping of our people, and you see the backlash, the public outcry that comes from it, so I really don't see the justification how we can say that it's okay for us to do it when, there's so much going on because of them doing it. Anyways, I think that's about it for this. Hope you liked the video, and y'all have a good one.